You're listening to Secrets of a Bridal Seamstress podcast. I'm your host, Nadine Bozeman. In this podcast, I'm sharing business systems and strategies specifically tailored to the bridal sewing industry so you can build your own modern and profitable bridal alterations business. Join me as I also get to chat with fellow seamstresses and share their personal success stories. I'm so glad you're here and that we can grow together in this unique trade. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Secrets of Bridal Seamstress. Today we're going to dive into the subject of marketing, and this is something that I feel like we all could just keep learning about, like have this kind of continual refresher going on. So I'm here with Madelyn Furlong, and she's going to be talking about how to use some inexpensive tools to boost your marketing and also how to build on those relationships that we already have with our clients and then turn them into our biggest fans. So I love the sound of that. So thanks for being an expert on both of these subjects.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So tell us, like, how did you get excited first about marketing to begin with? Because I know that you serve like small business owners and like service-based local business owners. So kind of perfect for our audience. So what drew you into this career to begin with?
Yeah, so it's really funny because I had no intention of owning my own business, let alone a marketing business. I actually went to school to be or I was an English major in college. And so along the way, I started this social media side hustle and had a marketing internship. But then I was like, okay, well, I'm still, my plan is to go corporate. And by that time, I'd kind of learned that I liked marketing. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm going to get an 8 to 5 office job. That's that. All right, we're fine. Well, things never happen the way that we think that they do.
That's
And
right.
I actually fell in love with owning this side hustle and doing that and working with these clients. And along the way, I transitioned from just social media management to being a marketing strategist. And I feel like even though I'm not, an English teacher or using my degree in that way, I still use my English degree every day when, I'm copywriting for websites or writing social media posts or emails or whatever. It's just really fun to get to help businesses craft stories for their customers. And
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. And then besides getting to craft these stories, I like marketing because it's definitely not a one size fits all type thing. I mean,
Right.
it's very much trial and error, and I'm the weirdo. I actually like that it keeps me on my toes
Mm-hmm.
and always learning. I think it's really fun. It keeps me interested and engaged.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so
I think the fact that you have like an English degree, like, oh my gosh, that's such a huge perk. Like, if I want anybody to write for me, it would be somebody who totally understands like the ins and outs and the grammar and all those. I don't even know what I'm talking about, but it's like there are people out there who know, like you. So
Well, it's so
you
much
found your
fun because
niche.
yeah, I get to combine these two things that I love, writing and then marketing. And then
Hmm.
just working with these small business owners is so much fun. I mean, they are the coolest people. I mean, they're built differently than everybody else. And so they're just
Listeners are like,
determined
yeah,
and
we are. We're built differently.
yes. So I don't know, they're so inspiring to me, and there's truly nothing better than working with a fellow business owner. And I love if I design a website for them or take over their marketing, there's nothing better than seeing their face when I show them the finished product. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Very rewarding. In fact, I was just talking to a girlfriend because I'm in the middle of having like a new website created and handing over my copy to somebody else, and it's a really personal thing, and it's like a big I had to work through some stuff to like let go. You know what I'm saying? So for you to do that for small business owners, it's like how big of a deal it is to take that off their plate, and then also like kind of the emotional release that they have to have to like to give you control of that. So you're doing some good work over there.
Thank you.
And it's more than just like, the business work. It's like you're helping people understand like it's okay to release this burden to hire somebody else who could probably do it better than you, even though we don't like to admit it as DIYers, which we'll get down to a little bit farther into our conversation. But I'm sure you see a lot of different sides and you help entrepreneurs get over a lot of different hurdles with what you do. So with marketing, like what trends are you seeing? Have you been seeing in 2024 or leading into 2025, like when it comes to social media or blogging or like I know that's a really broad question, but what are you seeing that's working well for entrepreneurs who are kind of like just scrappy doing it themselves?
Personal reach outs and just like building those relationships, they're so important. I'm seeing this a lot like this year, but I think it's only going to get more and more prevalent next year as well because the digital age can be great, but nothing takes the place of human connection and like personalization.
Yeah.
Um, and when I was starting my business, I asked myself like, why would somebody choose me for, website design or their marketing when there's plenty of other people out there? And, it took me a while to like come to this conclusion, but it's when businesses genuinely care about their customers and put them first, like it boosts their reputation. And that's like a marketing strategy in and of
Mm-hmm.
itself. And it opens the door for like so many different things. And so just being super intentional about like that personal aspect and sharing personal invitations and even reaching out for referrals like, hey, I have a spot open. I loved working with you and wanted to see if you know of anybody who's looking for a bridal seamstress. Whatever that might be, like just
Mm-hmm.
adding that like genuine like connection to the mix.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I even know of people who have like relationship spreadsheets. So they have a list of people that they've met at networking events and or like people they've had
Yeah.
conversations with
Yeah.
online. And they just like spend time nurturing those relationships and pouring into them. And it's not even necessarily like talking business, but it's just like staying connected with them. So
Right. Right.
yeah, that personal aspect is, I mean, one of the biggest, I guess, trends you could call it for
Yeah.
this year and next year.
Yeah, I believe it. And I even just recently I've gone to like several, like, like official organized networking events, and it's just I don't know, it always feels a little bit awkward. Like I try to go into it with an open mind, but sometimes it's like, okay, here we go. But what I found is like from those meetings, like DMing people who I meet and then just organizing like a low key, hey, let's meet up for dinner with four other wedding vendors and keeping things small, but it's that personal invitation. And for me, I don't feel like there's that pressure of, okay, I'm officially networking. It's just,
Mhm.
okay, I'm just making time to make some more friends. And that has led to other like referrals or like, oh yeah, my photographer recommended you. And it's like, oh yeah, well, I went to dinner with that photographer a couple months ago. It's like the small, not necessarily like the big scale marketing techniques, but it's like literally the connection. Cause I think we're all kind of maybe feeling a little burnt out by, you know, being on a screen or just connecting with people through like a like and a comment. It's like, okay, what else is there here? Let's
Yes.
like actually meet in person. And then you just like, there's like a local caterer here, Olympia, and she's like super fun. And she has like her business kind of exploded like in the past couple of years. And meeting her in person was so different than just seeing her on social media because I mean, her social media is like beautiful too, but like she's super down to earth and really fun and very giggly. And it's like those kind of things don't necessarily translate in her posts, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I love you. So it's like when you take that extra step to just connect in person, first of all, now you have somebody that you can talk to about like the stressful points in your local community wedding industry, but also you're growing your business at the same time. So, okay, so good to know. So if you're listening, schedule that coffee date with your wedding industry neighbor because that's what's trending this year and next year.
Absolutely. There you go.
Okay, so as bridal seamstresses, we're kind of known for being a pretty, scrappy group. We like DIY. We like to see, how much can we get away with doing on our own before we hire somebody else or before we pay somebody else to do what we know we can do. I don't know what it is. It's like something is in our blood and it just is like who we are as a people, I think. So when it comes to marketing and like, okay, I don't want to spend money on ads, like I hear that a lot, or like I don't want to necessarily hire somebody to, do my marketing for me, but sometimes there's a point where we have to release that, like we talked about earlier in the conversation. But what are some things that we can do that, aren't expensive in investing, whether it's like time or money into our marketing in a way that makes sense for the 2025 season?
Yeah, so there's like several different things that come to mind, and I'll kind of go through each of them and give a few tips on each of them. But one affordable marketing tactic that might seem kind of obvious, but it bears talking about is to look at the kind of content that you're creating. So going along with the last points, like the personalization aspect, when you're posting on social media or even email or whatever it may be, client spotlights and case studies are doing super well right now. People love seeing, that other people have had great experiences working with
Mhm.
you. They like picturing themselves like in that person's place, and they like just seeing the social proof. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's doing extremely well right now. And also right now there's so many like AI posts and transactional posts. And so
Yeah.
face-to-face content does really well also. And then just like behind the scenes content, have fun with it, share Instagram stories, let people connect with you as a human. You're really good about doing this. I mean, I love your Instagram stories.
Not lately. Lately, I'm like, oh, I gotta get back up my stories. But it's kind of one of those things that once you get out of it, it's like, okay, here we go. But then once you're back in the swing of things, it's fun. But getting in that mindset, Woo.
Oh, I understand, believe me. I tell my clients all day long, like, okay, you've got to go on your Instagram stories, film a little bit, what you're doing, and then, it's been 2 weeks since I've done it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I'm in the same boat. Um, but collaboration is another like affordable tactic that I think people should take advantage of going into next
Mm-hmm.
year. Hosting events or workshops, I think that's really key. And I've seen that just kind of get bigger and bigger in months past. But this is just like a way to help people get to know you better. So, maybe you can host a class with like, or a workshop with a florist or, somebody else in like the wedding industry.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, there's like so many things that you can do with this, but like whatever it is, I would definitely say like make sure that you show people that this is only like the first step and like you can support them even more. And so you can like ask them to share with their friends and family or just, like share how you can work or how they can work with you further. So
So are
I
you
would definitely.
saying like hosting an event for potential bridal clients or for other vendors?
It can be either, whatever like your field, is. Now, I have a client and they are a like wedding venue, and
Mm-hmm.
so they hosted other vendors.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think either way would work, like whether it's, other vendors or like potential bridal clients,
Yeah,
but just
because I
like.
think I've the same gal who I was talking about, she was our caterer, and she offers these cute little workshops to like put together a charcuterie board, or so you can host something like that for brides just to like get them in the door, or you can meet if you don't have a studio outside your home, you could do something like this at a local coffee shop. Sometimes they have these like little rooms that you can rent out. We talked about this more extensively in an episode about I had an open house recently this past year at my shop. And so if you're listening and you kind of want more details of how to host things for brides, maybe we can link that in our show notes so you can just kind of refer back to that episode. But I also love the idea of, yeah, just organizing something for other vendors so you can just talk shop. And I can almost guarantee that if you extend an invitation for wedding vendors to want to get together for like a low key dinner, like, just, cap it at 4 people. They will come and they'll feel like, "Oh my gosh, I have a friend in the industry." Like, we all want that connection. So, I've only done this maybe like 3 or 4 times, but every time I've done this, it's like they all come and then you have new friends. So, and it's like it costs you dinner.
Yeah, it's the perfect solution. I mean,
Mhm.
yeah, I 100% agree with you. So the last tactic that I wanted to touch on going into next year was content repurposing. So
Mhm.
I absolutely love talking about this because it's just a way that people can save time, but then, I mean, it's free marketing. So if you've wondered like how people can be so many different places online, this is how. I mean, sometimes they have help, a lot of times, maybe they do. But if you're a solopreneur, it's, just implementing a great repurposing strategy.
Mhm.
So sort of how I do this, like if you have one piece of long form content, you can break that up into a bunch of different, like smaller or shorter form content. So, for example, from one podcast episode, I could make a blog post, an email, Pinterest pins, a reel for social media posts for,
Mhm.
like Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, all of that, even Instagram threads. I could make like so many out of that. So, I would definitely, if you can, just set aside a little bit of time and figure out like what that strategy looks like. Figure out your long form content and then like, draw arrows to like your shorter form
Yeah.
content, however you want to do that. And then, you're not creating anything new. You're just repurposing it for each social media
Right.
platform. And then I use Metrical to schedule it out and absolutely love it. But yeah, I mean, it's been a game changer for me. And then
Mhm.
I help my clients do this as well. So would definitely recommend that.
Yeah. So if you're like for bridal seamstresses who are listening in, I think most of us have well, at least we have a website. I can say that for most of us. I know some listeners are like, that's on my to-do list. But if you have a website, that can even be your first stop for pulling content. I mean, you're thinking of your potential clients that are coming to your Instagram or your Facebook page or whatever your social media of choice is, they're not comparing your website to your social media. And so, I mean, I've done this, and actually within our membership, we've had a day where we go through the website and we'll pull what can be content for social media, right? So like I'm literally pulling lines from the website and like putting them into a Google Doc, and it's as simple as that. Like, okay, I wrote this in my website, so now it's going to be a post. This is already my caption ready to go. And then I slap a photo on there that, matches the whatever the topic is. We recently just had a couple trainings about blogging. And so I don't know how many listeners have a blog that are, consistent. Or do you blog, Madeline?
I do. I'm
Okay.
not always the best at being consistent, but yeah, I
Yeah.
do blog.
I mean, I was kind of blown away to hear that like blogging is not dead. Like it
Mhm.
is still working and it's still doing its thing and boosting that SEO. So if you have a blog, you can just take a couple lines from the blog or one point from your blog post, and that becomes your Instagram post, your Instagram caption. So sometimes we can just overthink things. And I'm sure you see this a lot with your clients, but it's like, well, I need to explain everything or my clients already know this. Da, 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 da. And it's like, probably safe to assume that your clients actually don't know it, and
Mhm.
just to kind of start with the basics, what's the main information that you have in your website and or your blog or whatever, and pull that into smaller chunks. So if you're listening and you're like, what the heck is a long form? Your long form is just the big chunk of information. So for a lot of us, like we said, it's on your website, it's in a blog post. If you have a podcast, it's on, it's a podcast episode, whatever, and then you can pull from each of those things to create smaller little tidbits of information. So to
Mhm.
post.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
a lot of times people will tell me, they're like, well, I posted, this post last week and it's kind of similar to this post this week. Nobody's going to know. I mean, unless it's just verbatim, word for word, it's okay. Like if it's two similar posts that you've taken from a blog post, like it's okay. Because there's a study and it shows that people have to see something over 17 times before they take action. And so if you are afraid that you are sharing something too much, or there's like a topic that was similar to one that you shared last week, it's okay. Like I
It's
tell people
only
that
one
all the
time. It's
time.
not
Yeah,
17
yeah.
times. Yes.
Exactly. So,
And I totally believe that, because I think, just the more that even just sharing, information about the membership
mhm,
or like our upcoming retreats, it's like I'll put it in a post, and it's like, and then it's in the email, and then it's in the podcast episode, and then it's in the stories, and then it's in the next post. It's like kind of like that you're saying the same thing, but like we have so many things going on in our lives that we can't really assume that people are just absorbing everything the first time. But
mhm.
17 times.
I
Oh
know,
my
I know.
word.
The number just keeps going up and up.
I know, because I remember when it was 7. I thought it
I
was
know, I
7.
do
And then I'm like,
too.
oh my gosh, okay, well, that's where our attention span has gone as
I
a
know,
society. We need
I know.
16 reminders.
I'm to blame for this too. I'm so ADD, like, I mean, I'll just, like, scroll past stuff and forget all about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so funny, even just so like our church every Sunday, like somebody shares the announcements, whatever. And it's like my husband and I always like kind of tease that the announcements, they're like the same every week, because it's like, okay, do we really have to go into all these details every single week? Like, who's really not paying attention? But it's me, because I don't know what's happening. And I'm like sitting there, like listening to the 10 minutes worth of announcements. And then they have all these cute, like Canva things that they're sharing. And it's like, it just goes in one ear out the other. So that literally happens to me every week. So I know that's happening to clients who don't know anything about bridal alterations. Okay, so what we can pull from that is start networking locally, like actually have real face-to-face conversations with people, with local vendors, and then with the brides that you want to contact. That I love the idea of hosting a little workshop for them, or finding a way for them to just come, not necessarily for bridal alterations, but give them a reason to come to your shop just to see you. And then what were the other things that we talked about? Repurposing
Mhm.
content.
I think that was yeah, we said face-to-face content, so I
Yeah.
think you covered it, yeah.
Oh, so something that you had talked about earlier, just before we started recording, and I was like, oh, I love the sound of that, is how to, you know, build upon the relationships that we have with our existing clients and then turn them into like our biggest fans. Like I love the sound of that. And as local service providers, that, face to face or like word of mouth is so important. It goes beyond just like how often we're posting on social media, right? It's like that in-person real life proof goes so far. So how do we make the most of that and really like I want to choose my words carefully because I don't want to say, how do we use our clients to have them be marketers for us? But kind of, you know what I mean? How do
Yeah,
we
no,
build on
how do we
that?
turn them into cheerleaders? Yeah.
Yes.
So I like to say that there are three components to the customer journey: organization, personalization, and going the extra mile. And I kind of flesh that out a little bit with each of my clients and teach them to do the same in their own business. But when people are excited about your business, then that's where the magic happens. And this matters because you want people to say positive things about your business. You want them to have a good experience. And then it opens the door for things like referral programs, and it helps with client retention. It even helps, if they have a great experience, maybe they're sharing about it on social media, things like that. So obviously, like if you're in the wedding industry, your clients don't get married all the time. There's
Yeah.
just once, but maybe they recommend you to a friend. Like that's
Yes.
the hope. Or maybe, I've seen this happen. You worked closely with the bride's parents and they have two more daughters. And so,
Hmm.
they had a great experience with you and like,
Oh
okay, well, we
yeah.
already know like for our other daughters, this is perfect.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Same thing
truly.
with bridesmaids. Like some people are like, oh, I really don't want to work with bridesmaids, but bridesmaids eventually, sometimes, hopefully, turn into brides. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, hey, you work with the bridesmaids, they come back. Like that happens so often.
Yes, exactly. So just being like organized in the sense of like you're upfront with, what they can expect, you're upfront with like timelines and things like that. And then like the personalization aspect, you know what they want, you are doing what you can to personalize their experience. And then like going the extra mile, sort of like anticipating their needs and just making sure again they have everything they need. That I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've seen this like in my own client's journey, like that speaks volumes. And so word of mouth and referrals like truly are so impactful and one of the best marketing strategies. And it's just like so organic and you can just see like when people are excited about your business, like that excitement just kind of bubbles over and they're
Yeah.
excited to tell other people about it.
Yeah. And I know when we're thinking, okay, what can referral programs look like for like a one-time customer? Like, okay, well, now that your dress is done, what am I going to give you? Well, we can do, even if like you're in the middle of alterations, they refer somebody to you, you can give them a discount on steaming services, or you could give them a discount on your dress cleaning and preservation. So this can happen like well after the wedding, but that can be a great incentive because the cleaning and preservation for most people we charge like 375 to 450 for that. So to have them have like 50 bucks off, $100 off for referral, like that would be great. So I haven't really thought much about that with the referral situation, but there are so many times that brides are like, "Oh yeah, you did, my coworker's dress or like my cousin's dress," and it'd be so great to give something in return to that bride. Another thing, this is totally separate from alterations, is having some kind of partnership with a local business. Like there's a local day spa that I love, and so I pick up those $100 gift cards and it's like $100 isn't much when when your average ticket is 10 times that much. You know what I'm saying? It's like totally worth it. Or you can, if get the $50 gift card, or you can get a local coffee shop where you're getting a $25 gift card. Like there's so many ways to support local businesses if you feel like you can't give them an alterations quote unquote benefit for referring out. Like get an alliance with some local businesses. I love that and just being more intentional about that.
Yes.
So, in addition to getting some gift cards under our belt, what are other ways that we can create super fans? Or maybe how do we get clients to respond to our like Google pages if we want reviews, like those kind of things?
Yeah, so I think this goes back to the organization sort of component. One thing that I like to encourage my clients to do is just have like a Google Doc of like the process of the whole experience of working together. And so that helps you like behind the scenes to know sort of, what's going on and know what the next step will be. So One thing that I do, like if I'm, finished working with the client, whether it's like their website design or whatever, is I send a few emails like asking for a testimonial. And I mean, these testimonials, you can use them on your website, on your social media
Mhm.
page, and emails. And that's just another way to like showcase like your customers being your cheerleaders. And so one thing that I'll do is I'll send an email, a couple days after maybe I've offboarded them. And if they don't happen to see it because they're busy people, like they're business owners too, then I'll send that, a week later or maybe like, a month later, whatever. Just sort of keeping it top of mind. And then most of the time they're more than happy to like write a review or write, a testimonial because I was intentional throughout their whole experience, the whole part of working together. And so, yeah, it's just staying organized and knowing sort of like when to send that like in the client journey and then just not being afraid to ask for it too, because again, they're more than happy
Yeah.
to most of the time.
Yeah, that's so true. Just this past week, I had a bride pick up her dress and she was so grateful. And she's like, "Where can I leave a review for you?" And I'm like, "Oh, that means so much, you know?" So it's like, I think they do, when they're happy, they want to support you and like
Yes.
spread the word. So not being afraid to ask for feedback. And also, I've learned this from like the podcast, the membership perspective. I've just always had a hard time, like, asking for the feedback, like, "Oh, do you mind
Mhm.
a little," and so I remember asking for reviews or just feedback for the membership and then talking to my coach at the time, and I'm like, "I don't know, I haven't heard from anybody." She's like, "Well, people are busy, so just send that reminder, and I bet you that people are gonna be like, 'Oh gosh, thank you.'" So
Mhm.
I did, I sent that reminder, like, 2 weeks later, like, "Hey, if you have a minute," and then I got a
Awesome.
response from 90% of the recipients. So it's like, it just takes that little, like, oh, that reminder because people are busy. So
Mhm.
instead of getting in your head about like, well, actually, maybe they're just totally not happy, it might just be because we're busy, just like you're busy. Like they are too.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
I thought of one more way that you can turn your clients into your
Ooh,
biggest
yes.
cheerleaders. So, I don't know if you do this in your own business, but something that I like to do is just to like share a birthday card or just something like, special, whether it's like a anniversary of like, 1 year that we worked together or
Mhm.
giving little gifts and stuff. I found that that's a really fun way to like personalize their experience. And I'm sure like you could do this with in the wedding industry as well. There's like a lot of creative ways I think that you could, but I've heard of like some people setting a budget and being consistent with that budget or just like, finding ways that you can just make their day. And I think like client gifting is just like a really fun way to like undersell and over deliver. But one thing that I tell people to do is to always like do it because it feels right and authentic, not because you feel like you
Yeah.
should. So
Right.
yeah, that's just like one last thing that I
Yeah,
had to
I
mention.
love that, and even if it's just, I mean, it doesn't need to be something elaborate, like, now there's, like, this trend of making scrunchies, so if ever I have enough scraps, I'll make a scrunchie for the bride, and it's like, that's her little, "Thank you," and she loves it, and I'm like, "Okay, it's just a scrunchie," and, we can whip those out. It takes me 7 minutes to make the thing, you know what I mean? Because I got this, like, easy little pattern and whatever, it's just I got my elastic on my windowsill, so it's just ready to go. I mean, and that's like the perfect little thank you. Or you could, like in the past, I've had like coffee samples made with my brand on the bag. So it's like, love is brewing, Sweet
Oh,
Francis
cute.
Sewing Co. Whatever. Yeah. It's like, okay, but just a little something. Or one season I did bath bombs, I did soaps. That was a little more expensive, but it just is like a nice little way to wrap up the experience and just giving them something that that lasts, you know what I mean? I
Mhm.
don't know if I could commit to, like, putting something in the mail, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when it's like, "Okay, bye, this is your final appointment," just doing a little something extra to make it special, and they remember that for sure.
I love that. That is such a good idea. The scrunchie, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
That's so cute.
as long as scrunchies are trending, I'm gonna hop on that,
Okay,
so
well, I
stay
mean,
on that.
I've got a scrunchie on right now, so it's trending.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay,
That's so
so
cute.
what is probably your best kept secret, for Secrets of Bridal Seamstress?
Okay.
What's your best kept secret as either as a business owner or the best kept secret that you would want to share with other small business owners?
Yeah, so
for
I
success?
have sort of like a fun, more of a marketing secret that people don't know
Mm.
about.
Ooh,
So this
bonus. Okay.
yes, yeah, this is so fun. Like I haven't shared this with many people actually, but this is just something fun that you can do. It's actually just subscribing to Google Trends. So if you subscribe to Google Trends, they send you like an email. I can't remember if it's every other day or maybe every few days, but it's tells you exactly what's trending. And so since I'm in marketing, I like to stay on top of the trends and
Mhm.
I mean it's super easy. I get the emails like right in my inbox. But sometimes, the trends are more like entertaining or fun, but other times they've been like super, super valuable. Like my client who's a wedding venue that I mentioned earlier, one of the trend emails that I got last month was about all the wedding trends this past summer. And so that email was like a gold mine. I mean, it told, it kind of gave a recap of all the past trends and then all the upcoming trends. And so we knew exactly what people were Googling and searching for. And then we could tailor like our content for social media and email around it. So
Wow, that is
it
so
was great.
cool.
Yeah. So I mean, and they're not always like
Yeah.
specific like that, but more times than not, like they still give lots of helpful information and help you sort of like stay up to date on the trends. So and it'll be especially helpful around the holidays, for sure.
Yes. Okay. Oh, that's super exciting because especially, yeah, I feel like I'm always at the last to know of like what is this? Like remember what like well, it wasn't too long ago. Like the demure and
Oh, yeah.
whatever. I'm like, "What?"
Oh,
I
my
literally had to
word.
like Google it. I was like, "What is this?" Okay, I don't think I'm gonna hop on this bandwagon. You know what I mean? But it's like
Yes,
I didn't
that
know what
was
it was.
everywhere. Oh my goodness. Every single social media post. It's like, "Okay,
Yes, and
guys,
I was
let's move
like,
on
"I
to a new trend."
refuse."
Yeah.
So then it was more like I was just too stubborn. I was like, "I will not join the fray of,
Oh,
of
I
this
understand.
trend." But it's like things like that, yeah, I could get some help of knowing like what's happening because, once I like look up from like sewing or I don't know, I want to just know without having to like dig and actually like get into
Yes.
the trends. I just want to know what they are. So
Yes.
that's an awesome secret actually. So thank you. Yeah.
Of course, of course.
All right, so tell us what you offer for wedding pros or like how you'd love to work with bridal seamstresses and then where can we find you?
Yeah, so if you'd like to attract your ideal clients and sort of turn them into your biggest cheerleaders with a standout marketing strategy or website design or social media, whatever that may be, you can just visit my website, madelynvictoriaco.com. And then I know we've also covered a lot, but I'm super passionate about making a local impact. And a lot of my clients don't even realize that their customers are literally down the street, like
Yep.
they're their neighbors. And so instead of worrying about, oh, I need to post like 17 times on social media or send out 100 emails or, whatever. I know that's an extreme example, but what if your next client was your neighbor?
Mhm.
So I created a guide to really help you connect with local customers and be profitable while doing so. So if you want to check it out, you can go to madelynvictoriaco.com/visibility.
Perfect. And I'll have that in our show notes too.
Okay, perfect.
Because that is like that's literally who we are serving are the people who are in our towns and it's like how many times have I gotten an email from a bride who's like, "I drive by your shop on my way to work every day and I'm so excited to work with you." And it's like, "Oh, like
Mhm.
she's just my neighbor, like just driving by." So we'll have that in the show notes. And I'm really excited to get this episode out. I think there's like a lot of just little nuggets, like the little things that we do with how we connect with people or how we choose to make them feel like seen and remembered that goes so far. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. And now you know where to find Madelyn if you have any more questions about marketing for your own bridal seamstress biz. All right. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and share this podcast with a friend. And if you're feeling really generous, leave a review. Thanks, everyone.